As spring moves into summer, one of the real joys in gardens is seeing froths of Alchemilla mollis appearing along the edge of borders. Particularly if you go to some of the big country estate gardens, you'll often see it used there to great effect. And it also has the most sumptuous leaves that seem to catch the moisture, the rainwater, and bead it into these little pearly, sheeny beads that reflect the summer sun. So they're a real great plant, and I think they're a must grow for any gardener. So Alchemilla mollis really does come into its own as an edging plant, really, but it can also be used as a intermediate gap filler, if you like, between small plants. It doesn't want to be buried in the back of the border where big things will overgrow it. It needs to be towards the front where it can really shine. And the beauty of the lime green foliage, as you can see here, is that it really looks good with all the other foliage colours around. And one of the other things about Alchemilla is that it really is very, very accommodating. It'll grow in full sun right at the front of a border in baking hot soil, or it'll grow in part shade. It will even cope with quite dark conditions under the overhanging branches of trees or shrubs, but it won't flower reliably, but you will get that lovely foliage. And as for soil, it'll grow in absolutely anything, alkaline, acid, or heavy clay. Alchemilla is available to grow either from plants from a nursery, but you can also grow it from seed, and it is very easy to germinate. It's something that you could sow either in the spring or you could sow in the summer, and you'll get good germination, and then you'll get bumper loads of plants to make really good edgings all the way around borders. But if you don't trust your seed sowing skills, then buy existing plants, pre-grown plants from nurseries and garden centres. Go for small plants in either 9cm pots like this one, or go for a bigger plant with the expectation of being able to chop it up into different sections, divide it. It's one thing about Alchemilla that it certainly grows and it bulks up very quickly. So even if you only buy one small plant at the beginning, you'll soon have a nice big clump after a couple of years or so that you can split up and spread around the garden. There aren't many plants that are easier to grow, to be honest, than Alchemilla mollis. And really, as soon as the flowers have faded, it's a case of just simply cutting off the flower stalks but leaving the foliage. And then at the end of the growing season, once the whole plant starts to go yellow, starts to die down, trim back the foliage and leave well alone, ready till next spring, when it will spring back with fresh new green growth. Now, as soon as you buy your Alchemillas, it's worth dividing them, because you'll find that there's lots of plants in the pot full that you buy in the first place. This is Alchemilla erythropoda, which is the small leafed form, doesn't get so floppy, but I'm going to knock this directly out of the pot, and you can see it's a really good clumpful here in this pot with lots of really good roots. I'm going to part the leaves about halfway down, like that, so I've got it nice and open through the middle, roughly half of the plant this side, half the other side, and then use an old kitchen knife just to cut through the crown of the plant. You can use an old bread knife and saw, but you can see that I've cut straight through the middle of the crown here, the corky bit, and it does expose the fact that there is another potential division there, so I could cut through there as well. And that's really two very good divisions. Any loose bits you can just pull off, but those divisions like that can be planted straight into the garden. Let's just do the other side. So from one potful, I've ended up with 4 plants to plant in the garden. Another great benefit of Alchemilla is that it's pretty trouble-free. Not a lot bothers it really. The only thing I've known it suffer from is vine weevil, which will nibble away at the fibrous roots underground, particularly if you try growing it in a pot, and it will sometimes make notches around the edges of the leaves. That looks quite attractive, but clearly something's attacking and eating it. So the best thing to do is to lift the plants, take the opportunity to split them, really investigate and see if you can find any of the little fat grubs underneath the soil. Pop those onto the bird table to give the birds a feast, and then replant the plants back in the ground or into fresh compost. Now, probably the best thing of all about Alchemilla is that there isn't a huge amount of choice. This plant is great and it doesn't really need much improvement. So you just find it sold as Alchemilla mollis. You may find a slightly smaller, more diminutive form of Alchemilla though. This one is Alchemilla erythropoda. Shorter growing, more compact. I don't really like the flowers as much because they're a bit stringy and less obvious and lime green. So if you can make do with just foliage, then this is the one for you because it stays nice and compact and it isn't as floppy as Alchemilla mollis. But if it's the lime green flowers that you want, Alchemilla mollis is the one for you. So whether you've got a strictly formal garden or an informal garden, or you just garden in pots, Alchemilla is a great filler, it's a great edger, and it's a great doer. So I think every garden should have it.